Hey guys, welcome back. This is Wolvie here with part 2 of the secondary reworks special presentation. As always, this is my opinion only, and like part 1, and to be completely fair, this will be male units who I feel will be needing a second rework, as well as units that I feel will be getting one. Now, there are going to be some units I will completely exclude from this list for one reason or another. Now, a couple of these units actually have yet to get a first rework, so to keep that in mind. So, Sephiroth and Zack will be excluded from this list altogether because for both of them, as far as I know, they have yet to get a first rework. Now, another person, or I should say 2 individuals that will be excluded from this list are going to be Kane and Laguna. The reason why I'm excluding both of them is that they both recently got a second rework on JP. And that is slated to come to Global at some point in time, so that's that on that. Now, I'm trying to think here. There are 2 other units I will be excluding from this list, and that's going to be Bartz and Zidane. Again, both of them have a secondary rework. So, with that out of the way, I just want to reiterate the announcements for part 1, is that first and foremost, I am going to be in a collaboration of sorts with BCSBuster. In part 1, I do have a link to his channel in the description for that video. I'll probably put it in again in this video, so that's going to be one thing. And then another thing here is that, like I said, I'm going to be distancing myself a little bit from the community instead of me interacting with some of you. And again, part of it is because of the collaboration with BCSBuster, but I also have a lot of stuff going on outside of here that I actually have to address. And one of it is involving a convention here in the Chicago area. At the end of this month, I will be in attendance for that, so it would make no sense for me to really try to do so much, and I'm too tired to even talk. Now, another thing is I do have a bit of a backlog still going, so I'm trying to refilm some of the stuff I was forced to delete because I just didn't feel comfortable publishing it when I initially filmed it. So please bear with me, and you can probably tell right now I am forgetting how to pronounce words right now. So without any further delay, we're going to go into the party aspect again. And like I said, it's going to be 3 male units plus an honorable mention who I feel needs a second rework, and 3 male units alongside an honorable mention that will be getting one. So if you remember, the people that I mentioned before are all going to be excluded because some of them don't have their first rework yet, so it's too soon for me to tell. And then some of the others already have a second rework coming up. For Global, that is. So, the first male unit who I feel is going to be the first male unit who I feel is in need of a second rework, and oddly enough, this is my current support unit at the moment on Global. It is Sector from Final Fantasy VI. The reason why I feel he is in desperate need of the second rework is his first 2 skills alone. There has been nothing done to it. The only rework he has gotten is through his crystal level 50, which is all in. And when you had to use everything up or to get the all in passive to kick in, now you just had to use 2 uses of Freeze Joker. Now, the reason why he really needs a second rework is because, again, he doesn't really have much sources of overflow outside of maybe skill 1, and definitely his EX ability. He's one of those who is the most reliant on his EX because of the lack of uses of skill 1 and skill 2. He needs something to really make him a viable support unit in the future. But yes, he is my first pick as a male unit who really needs a second rework. And I could also point out that he's one of those that likely does not have a character board as of yet. So I think if the time comes that he does get a second rework, here comes the character board. Here comes his character board. But yes, he does need a second rework. Now, another unit who I feel needs a second rework is kind of a surprise. He actually has a character board and a burst weapon on JP. But honestly, they could have done something more. It's Squall from Final Fantasy VIII. It's just that he only has one use of his AA, ability, recovery, attack up. And they could have done more with that. I saw some footage of him with his burst weapon. He needs something bad. Granted, he has some formats of AoE with skill 2 and EX. No. Actually, it's just skill 2. Skill 2, and I know his burst weapon has AoE, but they could have done something more. They could do something more with him. That's just my thing. But yeah, he is a unit who I feel needs a second rework. Now, I'm going to pause this video so that way I can think about the honorable mention and my third pick. It was either this or that, just like this part 1. So I'll be back so that way I can make sure I make the right call here. I am back. Like I said, I actually had to think about who's going to be the honorable mention, who's going to be the third pick. Now, Ranza is my pick for the honorable mention side of the coin here. Now, the reason why I have him here is that he actually does get his EX realized, but the thing is that he doesn't have many skill uses of skill 1, skill 2. So it's one of those you actually have to really space it out for him to be of any use. And this is even the case when his EX weapon gets realized. However, not as much. So I could see some, ideas flowing about for him to be redone again. But the reason why he's an honorable mention and not the final pick is solely because the EX weapon being realized helps him out with a few of the problems. So, with that out of the way, the third and final pick who I feel needs a secondary rework is actually a main story character. Now, if I could get him on the screen, and it's going to be Edgar from Final Fantasy VI. Now, the reason why I have him here as my third and final pick is one who needs a second rework because you almost don't see him nowadays. You almost do not see him nowadays on JP. He gets a pretty good rework as it is. I saw some footage here and there, but honestly, they could have done more. And that's all I'm going to say on that. So, we're going to go into 3 male units who I feel will be getting one. And I will make, so the first male, I'm going to go straight to this right now. So, the first male unit who I feel will be getting a second rework, he has yet to get his burst weapon on JP, but he does have a character board, a main story person. It is Cloud from Final Fantasy VII. There is some degree of flexibility they could do with him with the secondary rework. He's one of those characters who's quite versatile with what he can do. But the question is, will they make him more offensive should they give him when they give him the secondary rework? So this is something for me to keep in mind in that regard. Now, the second male unit who I feel will be gaining a secondary rework at some point in time is another from the main story of this game, and that is Vivi from Final Fantasy IX. He is part of the Cursed Six alongside Sarah, Yuna, and you kind of know the other three, Cater, Aerith, and Lion. So, he's part of the Cursed Six. I do see some degree of possibilities when it comes to reworking him the second time. So, with that one out of the way, I'm going to take another pause, and I'm going to have to think about the honorable mention and the third pick. But like I said, I do want to reiterate that Zidane is excluded because he actually gets a second rework. You also have Bartz. He's another one who got his second rework on Global. You also have You know what I mean. So I'm going to do a pause, that way I can think things over, okay? I am back, and this is the honorable mention, Vincent from Final Fantasy VII. Now, the reason why I feel he's the honorable mention and not my third and final pick is because, like a couple of the others on this list, in the sense of who will be getting one, is that he has some degree of flexibility in what they could do. However, he recently got his EX Plus weapon on Global as part of his 7070 Awakening. And, I mean, he's pretty damn good at what he does, but it's one of those, it's like, how often is he used? Is he still viable to this day on JP? That sort of thing. Now, the third and final unit who I feel will be getting a second rework is going to be Tidus from Final Fantasy X. The reason why I feel he will be getting one is the fact he got his rework on Global rather early. However, he does, I mean, this is despite the fact that he does have a character board, but there's a lot more they can do with it. And I feel that once he gets his second rework, here comes his burst and LD. It's just that it's that sort of thing that screams at some players. It's like, when certain things comes, here comes another part of the equation. And that's the case for Tidus. So he's one of those where, here comes the secondary rework, plus the burst weapon. So you guys know where I'm going to go with this. I'm not going to do a recap like I said, because I think it's a kind of starting to get a little late. I gotta get ready to go to work, but just so you know, those are my picks. Like I said, it is my opinion only. And just to reiterate the announcement from both part 1 and the start of this video, is that I am going to be doing a collaboration with BCSBuster on the DLC for Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. So I'm going to be doing a little work on that. I have a bunch of stuff in my real life outside this game. So, with all that, I will be distancing myself a little bit from the community for a while, so that way I'll try to interact, but not as much as I normally would. And that's just to put some people at ease, is because I'm pretty busy, and I try to balance things out here and there. I just don't want to get myself too involved. So, it's one of those things, it's like, I'm doing something, but for the reasons people are not expecting. And I think I need a little thing called sleep, so that way I don't overwhelm myself. And that's where I'm going to end this video, with Wolvie here signing off. I will catch you all on the flip side.